here to discuss all things NRL and anything sports related. Please give a warm Aussie g'day to the footy fanatic and America's own Corey Jackson in Outside the Sheds.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Outside the Sheds. We've done it, Shedheads. We have done it. We are on the precipice of the grand final. It is about ready to kick off. A matter of hours. I know you guys thought that I ghosted you without the show being dropped on Wednesday, but I wanted it to be fresh going into the grand final, if you know what I mean. I wanted it to be popping still. I wanted it to be kind of resonating in your heads that, yeah, I remember the Shedda said that. Yeah, exactly. Well, after a great start to the week of being on the morning show with Brandy and Matt Russell, we're following into this episode with energy, exuberance, and excitement. I think I hit the triple E's. But anyway, yes, I'm playing hurt because like the players right now that are about ready to take the field in a matter of hours in Sydney, your Shedadamus he's running a little behind today. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if it's allergies, I don't know. Something has been kicking me in the rear end, but I'll say this. It won't be as bad as the episode when I sounded like Kermit the Frog's beat-up cousin. And I don't even want to know what episode number it was. It was horrendous. But I appreciate you sticking with me. But we're here. And I can't believe that, my gosh, that March kicked off the season. I'm in Vegas with Mrs. Shedadamus, and we're at the point now where we are. When you're in the Divided States, you forget a lot. Don't forget that now. And but besides that, most of you are not. So good. You don't have to worry about that. But I'm really, really excited. And last weekend, once again, didn't disappoint. This 2025 NRL this NRL season has been it's been everything that we've hoped for and more. And it stayed that way all the way through the preliminary, final that we got last week. And let's go into those. Yes, I know, before you guys attack me, I know your Shedadamus went 0 for 2. But those things happen. Those things happen. I know I lost my BMW from that, but that's okay. That's okay. I'll rebound, and Hyundais are a great car. I'll have to drive one of those now. But let's start it off. Storm 22, Sharks 14. Behind the returning Pappenhausen, Jahrome Hughes. The Storm get out early, never look back. The Sharks don't do too much to get in the way of their role. And that's what I thought was going to happen. I really thought Cronulla was playing the footy that could really just kind of disturb the way that the Melbourne Storm team play, and they keep getting the repeated sets and blah, 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 blah. And it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. And we're going to talk in the deep dive about the greatness of Jahrome Hughes and the performance he put together, because that was incredible. That was incredible. Broncos 16, Panthers 14, the cardiac Colts. That's right, it's already been copyrighted, so don't even try to steal it. The cardiac Colts do it again. Down 14-0 to the 4-time in a row reigning premiers. The Brisbane Broncos just flip a switch in the second half. And I don't know if Madge is putting something in the Kool-Aid that the kids are taking in at halftime. But even without Kerrigan, they come back, put on a performance in the second half. And I gotta admit, there was numerous amounts of times that I thought Penrith was about ready to put him to the sword. I thought Penrith was going to, put them out of their misery, and they just couldn't get in. And I don't know. I think what Ivan's going to be really regretting, as much as I think Ivan regrets anything, because I don't think he does that much, is I think he's going to regret not kicking a couple of, penalty goals right there to try to get them a little farther up. Also to break the momentum flow, because they took nothing away from any of the penalties. And they never score any points in the second half, which I can't remember the last time that happened to a Penrith team that looked like they were about ready to put you away. So I think that's the only thing, not taking the shot at goal a couple times that I think that they should have done. But why would you? This is the Penrith Panthers, a team that when they're up this big on a team, they're about ready to put you away, and they just didn't. And I think that has a lot to say with Brisbane. I'm saying this club, the belief that they have in them right now is pretty incredible. And they got over. They made it happen. And so I guess we're going to be doing some arm pumping. I guess the piston pump of Suncorp Stadium, it hasn't made it all the way down here in the bunker here in Texas. But again, they have to be proud of their team up in Brisbane. 19 years on the trot. You like that? On the trot. 19 years since they won a grand final and brought it home. So they're beyond hungry. We know this. Brisbane is beyond hungry for a championship. It's kind of funny. I compared them last week on the show, Brisbane, a lot to the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, they don't have a crazy maniacal owner like the Cowboys, but they have similarities where both of them haven't won forever, right? And they were dominant teams. Both of them were dominant teams in the 90s. But, with that being said, they've run into some tough times, just like the Cowboys. But for some reason, that fan base, not really trying to call Brisbane Dallas, but they have that similarity where they think that, every year they've got a chance and they're really hard on coaches and players and blah, 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 blah. So they're in. And that's something the Cowboys will not be in the Super Bowl this year. So there's one difference between the clubs. But great victory for the Storm and the Broncos. Now let's go on this deep dive real quick. The number 22. No, I'm not talking about the amount of days an ex-girlfriend of mine liked to celebrate her birthday. That's right, 22 days in a row. Yes, she was attractive. But come on now, you expect your Shedda to be with anybody that's not attractive? My God, Mrs. Shedadamus is a smoke show. She's a beautiful woman. But that's the type of stuff I'm thinking about 22, right? I'm thinking about, 22 days in a row. You've been on a sugar fast, whatever you want to say. Haven't drank alcohol. I know some of you like to pour back the beverages. Okay, that's 22 days. That's a lot of time for you guys. That's a lot of time. And gals, all right? I'm equal opportunity on this show. But what I'm trying to say is 22 is not a long period of time. Not a long period of time. Your Shedda he cuts out alcohol for 6 weeks every year, all right? So he goes dry. And that's fine. It's good for me, and I love it. But what I'm saying is 22 is not a long period of time. It's not. It definitely is not a long period of time if it's a bone healing, right? Some of you guys can't handle a cramp that you can't get rid of 22 days later, let alone a broken bone, all right? So when I say that, it is insane what Jahrome Hughes did, coming back after 22 days after a fractured forearm and to play the way that he did against the Cronulla Sharks. And I'm going to say this right now. It's not that they couldn't have won the match without Jahrome Hughes. I think it would have been a lot more difficult for the Melbourne Storm. But just watching that guy walk out onto the field totally inspired his team. It totally, it just took them over the top. Watching this guy come out wearing that padded custom cast on his forearm, the moment they watched him give that don't argue, right, with his broken arm, I think all of us knew that, this guy he's for real. He's playing with confidence. He's fending off with an arm that was just fractured 22 days ago. He's playing with reckless abandon, a fierceness that Jahrome Hughes, when he's up for running, that's when you know he's on top of his game, right? And he was attacking the line and running. He really was. So you knew he wasn't scared about that arm. Like I said, everybody needs to get the name and phone number for his doctor because this guy did some pretty incredible things. Now, I'll say this right now. I've got a lot of people sending me messages saying, is Jahrome Hughes Wolverine? All right. I don't think so, but I will also tell you that I've never seen Wolverine and Jahrome Hughes in the same room at the same time. So you guys take that how you want to take it. But if that guy heals that quickly, he should be a superhero, even with his doctor working on him. So that to me was the thing that really took this game in a different direction, because I was wondering, and then we forget that this guy is also playing with a bum shoulder. And I would not be surprised if he goes under the knife for his shoulder after the season. So he's got a fractured wrist that has been put back together. He's got an injured shoulder that most people didn't think he was going to come back from before the fractured wrist. And he's playing with all those injuries and playing on top of his game. And you could see the way that he just erupted when he scored his try. All of that emotion came out. That, yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm playing. And I think the Sharks watched all of that. Cronulla watched all of that, and they watched how he took the game on and how he just dominated. No matter what they did. I'm saying they've got some big boys in Cronulla, and they could not do anything to deter the way that he was playing. Now, besides the 4-3 try advantage, a lot of the other stats were pretty even in the game. Cronulla didn't have a horrible game. By no means was it the best game they played in the finals, but it wasn't that they played horrible. You know, Melbourne led, I guess, 4 minutes more in possession time than Cronulla. But besides that, it was pretty even, right? Yeah, they're playing down in Melbourne, and we know how a lot of teams have problems going down there playing in Melbourne, but to me, a lot of it was the mindset that happened for Cronulla. And that was a shell of the club that we watched the first two rounds of the finals. Nico, Hines, Tricky, Trindle, they just didn't have that same magic they've had the first two games of the finals. And it really, really showed, because the domination from Hughes and Munster in that spine, in the Habs battle, was everything. Because Hughes looked great, but I thought Hines could actually, and really, let's be honest, Nico has not had an incredible game playing against his former club. And he really hasn't had an incredible game playing against Melbourne back in Melbourne. So again, that kind of continues, but it was, they just weren't the same club. They were having errors at times, and they just could never get that locomotive going. A lot of people thought that Adam Fanua-Blake was going to dominate in the, inside without Big Nelson there to hold him in check. That never really came to pass. Cronulla just did not ever get on that front foot where they felt like they were in control. And that really, to me, again, besides the spine dominating for the Storm, the Sharks just weren't the same club. And again, that's why a lot of people say you have to finish in the top four to make the GF and to win this whole thing. Because just playing that one more additional game, usually you start seeing a club's legs kind of go out from underneath them, and they just can't put those three games together like that. So a dominant victory for the Melbourne Storm and their 11th grand final under Bellyache. And come on, we've gone time and time again on this show talking about the greatness of Bellyache and Craig Bellamy's record and what he's done and what he's meant for Melbourne. And I know every year we seem to go into it asking, is this his last season? Is this his last season? Is this his last season? And why would it be? I'm saying Craig Bellamy is still getting so much out of this club, year in and year out. I'm like, look at that number, 11th grand final. Are you insane? Really? It's incredible numbers. He passes old Clint Eastwood, making it to this many grand finals. So if you're a Melbourne fan, you've got to feel confident and you got to feel happy about the result, because for a while there, towards the end of the season, they looked like they were probably about on 50% petrol. But this team is firing on all cylinders right now, and I think they're about ready to do some damage. Now, in front of a sold-out rabid Suncorp Stadium, we got the other preliminary final. And they did it. The Broncos slayed Goliath. And I'm going to say something right now, Shedheads. It's almost strange to think of a grand final without the Penrith Panthers. And I know a lot of you are like, thank God. But I mean that. I'm saying, when you have to go back to the 2019 season and the grand final between the Chooks and the Raiders, that was the last time there was a grand final without Penrith. That's unheard of. That's insane. And I know a lot of people, and listen, I wasn't even born yet when the St. George dynasty went. So, okay, you can go back and try to, quote that, and yes, it did happen, but it's kind of like I live in downtown New York City. I can't really hear a tree falling in the forest, okay? I know it happened. I looked at the news, I read an article, but it doesn't resonate in my spirit, my soul like that. So, yes, I know some great things have happened before, but this salary cap era and all this type of stuff, it's a different game. It's a totally different game. So it's really strange to really think about that. And after the game finishes, and I'll say this, I don't have a bunch of banners in the household here for the Penrith Panthers, but I was kind of melancholy. And the reason I was because it feels like a part of you, when you see greatness happen time and time and time and time and time again, when it doesn't turn out the way a lot of people are expecting it to, you're kind of sitting there a little numb when that happens. And I think that's what I was like when I saw Penrith somehow find a way to not score any points in the second half. Now, I'll say this right now, enough with the Penrith Panthers, because this comes back to the resolve of the Brisbane Broncos. Because a lot of clubs, down to the reigning premiers, 14-0, no matter if you're playing at home or not, are tapping. They're tapping like a UFC fighter back in 2010. I'm saying they're just slapping the ground in the octagon. But that's not what happened. And when you watched how dominant the first half was for Penrith, all of the house money switched in the second half. And again, it's 2025. I'm saying this type of stuff doesn't usually happen. But it did, because in the 47th minute, when Kotoni Staggs scored that try, you felt a shift. And I'm a long ways from Brisbane, all right? We all know where the bunker's at. I'm a long way from there. And I could even feel it switch, all right? I even heard Mrs. Shedadamus turning over in the bed in the bedroom with the door closed and locked, so all of my zoo couldn't get in to bother her, okay? So that is how much of a disturbance it was with the Kotoni Staggs try. You felt it switch. You felt the change. You felt the dynamic in the air. The fans came back alive. And I don't think that cauldron caused Penrith to kind of change the way they were playing. But that was the first time that I can remember in a final series where the Penrith Panthers all of a sudden were being hunted. And it was strange. It was strange because it kind of made me flash back until 2 weeks ago when everything was going the direction for the Raiders and Walsh comes back with that superhero cape on his back like we talked about, and wow, they just couldn't get out of the way of the tsunami. They couldn't get to high ground fast enough, and it swallowed them up. And that's what happened. I'm saying Reece Walsh, the funny thing about it is, if you look at it, Reece Walsh didn't have the greatest game. 135 running meters, 1 line break assist, 12 tackle breaks. But when it counted, he got the try assist to put his club over the top. And you know what? I've seen some quarterbacks in the NFL, gridiron, whatever you want to call it, have some subpar games, but hit that one key pass to get a first down or a touchdown, and that's all anybody remembers, is that moment, right? That moment. And Walsh did it. But there's another stat that really rocked me when I saw it and I figured it out. In the last 10 minutes of both of their finals matches, the Broncos have outscored both of their opponents 20-0. Think about that. 20-0. And for whatever reason, with their backs against the wall, this club just does not, they don't know how to turn it off. When a lot of teams kind of go into a shell, this team just continues. Like Payne Haas did have a great first half, but he came back possessed in the second half. So, like, again, I don't know what they're putting in the Kool-Aid or the Gatorade or the pickle juice or whatever the heck they're drinking on on the sidelines for the Brisbane Broncos or inside their locker room, inside the sheds. But this team comes out after listening to Magic's voice or drinking the Magic sauce, and they're different. They're totally different. And they played that way again. And again, it blew me away. So I don't care about the boot camps anymore. I don't care about the cruises. In the end, the Broncos could not be stopped, and they made another grand final because no club standing in their way, no matter what the deficit they were under, deterred them from getting to their goal, and that was the grand final. And like I said, hats off to Madge. Sometimes the guy makes me think that he's a mad scientist. Sometimes I think he's about ready to have a nuclear meltdown. But he has done some pretty incredible stuff now with the Kiwis, with the Blues, and now with the Brisbane Broncos. And let's not even go into halfway through this season how it looked like the tires are about ready to fall off the car, and that they couldn't get out of their own way. But he found a way. He found a way to flip the switch, get this team back on track. And again, to me, this all comes down to Reece Walsh. Reece Walsh, and I don't know who talked to him. I don't know what kind of clicked in his head. But he's now lived up to that rock star persona that he has. And it's now transpired and it's come out on the field. So congratulations to both clubs because we're now set up for an epic grand final here in a matter of hours. Now, Shedheads, you know we like talking about greatness on this show. We like to honor people that have done some pretty incredible things. And I watched the Daly M's, and we've now been able to crown our king and queen for the 2025 season. And the winner for the ladies was Tamika Upton. And I got to tell you something. If you haven't watched Tamika Upton play, you've missed a pretty incredible player. I don't care man or woman. She's just an incredible player. She becomes the first two-time Daly M winner for the ladies. And the season that she put together leading the competition, she led the NRLW competition with most tries with 19, line breaks with 19, try assists with 14, and line break assists with 17. And has now led her Broncos to the grand final where they're going to take on the woman that she bested for the Daly M, Isabel Kelly, and the Sydney Roosters. It is going to be an epic grand final. I can't wait for it. But Tamika Upton, she leaves Newcastle, and the great thing she did down there with the Knights, and she's just kind of slotted right back in with the Broncos, and they have not missed a beat with Scotty Prince leading that side. It's going to be an epic grand final. And as you know, both Isabel Kelly and the Daly M winner, Tamika Upton, are going to pay heavy amounts in for that club, whoever wins it, to win their championship. So to me, it's a pick 'em, and I'm going to pick it here in a matter of moments. On the men's side, James Tedesco brings it home. He brings home, a lot of people thought that it was Teddy's to lose for a long period of time. The season that he had, Shedheads, I've been the guy on record saying time and time again, I don't care how great Dylan Edwards has been playing recently, and I know that he's got a lot of grand final, trophies and rings right now recently, but I would have never removed James Tedesco from the fullback for the Blues. This guy just time and time again produces. He is now a two-time Daly M winner too, just like Tamika Upton. He won his first one in 2019. But I think you can see the dominance of a season he had because he finished 22 points clear of the number 2 guy, which was Nathan Cleary. 22 points. That is an astronomical. That's a huge margin of victory for the Daly M. But that's what Teddy did. And Teddy also brought home the Captain of the Year and Fullback of the Year award. So he had a pretty good run at the Daly M Awards. But, he scores 11 tries in the season and averaged 194 meters per game. That was, again, this guy's 32 years old. It's not like Teddy's 25, 26, 27. He's getting better. He is knowing when to run. He's knowing when to attack. And he lifts a Sydney Roosters club that really a lot of people didn't even have finishing in the top 8. And he somehow, no matter how many fresh new debutantes that team ran out on the field this year, found a way to captain and lead them And to me, that is almost as impressive as any of his numbers, that he got that club over the line and into the finals. So congratulations to both of these winners. Great seasons for both of them. And it's going to be really fun, again, to watch Tamika Upton play in the grand final right before the NRL grand final. Now, like I said earlier, it's going to be strange, Shedheads. It's going to be very, very strange to not see the Penrith Panthers playing on grand final day. But I'm going to say something right now. And this is going to make some of you very, very happy. The Cleary streak will continue. So all of you who are bow to the altar of the Clearys, you can continue to bow. Because the streak of a Cleary in a grand final will continue to run, because Jet Cleary's New Zealand Warriors side first off won the New South Wales Cup, which was the Warriors' first senior trophy out of 6 attempts for them. So that's huge. Okay, congratulations. Because they have deserved to win something for a very, very long time. But it also means now the Jet Cleary side is going to be playing on grand final day, which here in the Divided States will be at like 9:15 in the evening. So that's kind of cool too. I don't have to wait till the witching hour to watch it. But they will be taking on the Burleigh Bears in the NRL State Championship, which to me is going to be a fun game to watch because Burleigh's got a pretty darn good side too. And I think it's going to be some free-flowing footy. And that's one of the things that makes it really, really fun. Now, this club is more Tanner Boyd's side than it is Jet Cleary's right now, even though Jet's been playing some good footy as well. But you gotta be pulling for the Waz, right? Come on. To bring home 2 trophies for a club that had never won anything up until this season, and with the rabid fan base they have, I have a feeling that stadium is going to be rocking for the Waz for that state championship. So looking forward to that. But like I said, Cleary heads, Cleary fans, the whole Cleary family will be in the crowd, so we will still get Nathan and Ivan on grand final day. They just won't be leading their sides onto the field. So good luck to both the Burleigh Bears and to the New Zealand Warriors in their state championship decider. Now, as we go into our picks for the grand final, Shedheads, we're going to start it off with the NRLW. And that match between, like I said, the Broncos and the Roosters is going to be something special. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be pretty free-flowing. I think we're going to get a lot of points. But I'm telling you right now, I usually side with the team that has the player that lost a trophy to somebody else on the other side that did win it. And that is why I'm going with the Chooks. First off, this side hasn't lost all season. And when a club hasn't lost all season, that means they've found ways to win and to fight back adversity no matter what happens. They're also going to be playing in Sydney. And I don't think a lot of people are putting that 1 and 1 together that equals 2, meaning that because they are playing in Sydney, you're going to get a feel of origin. And that means that crowd is going to be going crazy for the Chooks just because they represent New South Wales. So they're going to have a kind of, I would say, a fan favorite hometown feel in that stadium because them being the New South Wales side. I think that's going to actually add and contribute to the chance of their victory. But to me, I think that there's just too much strike on the park for the Chooks. And I, Surgis, Isabel Kelly, it's just going to be a great match. But I got the Chooks winning it and keeping that perfect season for 2025. And then when we go into the grand final, that's right. The Broncos get back Pat Kerrigan. They look strong. But this match to me is going to be won by the spine. And I know that Ezra Mam, it's kind of going back and forth if Madge is going to start him or if he's not going to start him, bring him in off the bench like he did against the Panthers. Either way, my feeling is no matter who you play in there, Hughes, Munster, and Harry Grant. I can't pick against those guys. The big game performances those guys have been in from state of origin, grand finals together. And let's not forget Pappenhausen. I know a lot of people think that Reese Walsh will neutralize Pappenhausen, but I'm going to say something right now. Pappenhausen is getting no respect right now. He's not had a great final series. I know he got injured, but Ryan Pappenhausen is a hell of a player. And I know he's hearing time and time again about Reese Walsh. Don't think that won't motivate Pappenhausen. And I think he's going to come out and have a incredible game. So if you get that, if you get Pappenhausen having an incredible game, we know how big a game performer Munster is. We know that last year Jahrome Hughes won the Daly M. Folks, there's no way I'm picking against the Melbourne Storm. The other reason I'm not picking against the Melbourne Storm, because I can't believe I'm going to say this, I think the Melbourne Storm are going to be the fan favorite in Sydney. That's right, I've said it. The Melbourne Storm and Craig Bellamy, I think, are going to be the crowd favorite in that game. And again, it goes back to state of origin. Brisbane is everything Queensland. And if you're in New South Wales, you don't root for anything Queensland. So I think it's going to be a very, very, yes, there's going to be great Bronco representation because Bronco fans, they travel. But everybody else who doesn't have a dog in the fight and they're from Sydney isn't rooting for Brisbane. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. So with all that being said, I think the spine is everything. I know Payne Haas is going to be there. I know Kerrigan's coming back. But I just really, really feel that those guys, those four guys, are going to be what brings it home. And Harry Grant, he didn't win Hooker of the Year in the Daly M. Don't think he's not going to be motivated to make something happen and to prove that he's still, in a lot of people's minds, the best hooker in the competition. The crazy thing about this is if Melbourne wins this will be Bellyache's first championship with a hooker besides Cameron Smith being his number 9, which is crazy. And that's, I didn't even know that until just recently. I heard that and I was like, wow. But it's true. I started to think about it. So, gonna be fun. Gonna be an incredible match. Both of these matches. And even the state championship is gonna be good. It's gonna be a great triple header to watch. And the cool thing for us over here in the Divided States is these matches start at 9:25, I think, 9:15 or 9:25. So you're going to be able to watch because the women's match comes on at midnight. So you're going to get 2 good matches in before having to put the pot of coffee on to keep you up for the rest of the day, or a can of Monster, or C4, whatever you want to take in my how should I say, down my vocal cords. But I'm so excited for these matches. It's kind of surreal, again, that these are going to be the last NRL matches of the season that we're just hours away from watching. But it's been a great season, and I'm expecting it to end with a bang. Now, my gun of the round, a lot of the house money went towards Payne Haas, but I'm going to go with the inspirational captain, the guy that coming back changed to me the whole flow of the game. I'm going with Jahrome Hughes for the Melbourne Storm. 1 try, 104 running meters, 1 line break, 8 tackle breaks, 504 kicking meters. Again, I'm not saying they couldn't have won without him, but what he did to just motivate his team and to get them over the end line was everything. So congratulations to Jahrome Hughes on his return and getting his club to the grand final. Shedheads, that does it. I cannot believe this. Also, next week's episode will be the last episode we have for a while. We're going to come back and we're going to do a few episodes for the Ashes series, especially if I can watch it. It might be difficult for me to see over here, but I think for sure I've been checking on ways that I'm going to be able to watch that. But that being said, I hope you guys are excited for this as much as I am, because we're going to get some great games this weekend to finish the 2025 season. But make sure you get your sleep tonight. You're going to need it for tomorrow if you're over on this side of the globe. But until next week, stay out of trouble. Don't get caught. Enjoy the matches. Have beverages. It's going to be great and epic. Till next week, Shedheads. See ya.
And that was another fantastic episode of Outside the Sheds with Corey Jackson, talking all things NRL and all things sports. So please remember to smash the subscribe button and share this with your family and friends and show them what Australian sport is all about.